Chapter 2400. Swish! Swish! Between his 5 fingers, a large amount of light shot out, covering the sky and covering the earth. There were too many to count, and the gorgeous luster was like a golden drizzle falling down. The whole sky was dazzling with gold and jade. Puchi! 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 The unstoppable golden light hit Sangong Kuei head-on, and the light that filled the sky poured down. Her weak body was pierced with countless holes, and blood spurted out. In the blink of an eye, Sangong Kuei was turned into a beehive. Seeing such a beautiful little girl being ravaged like this, it was enough to see Dustless's indifference. Pooh! After suffering such a fatal injury, Sanya Kuei instantly lost all her strength and fell to her knees weakly. Looks like your hit rate is really bad. You can't kill me. At this moment, even though the 3 Palace Kuei was riddled with wounds, it still looked at Dustless fearlessly. Even though it was on its last breath, it refused to admit defeat. Oh, that seems to be the case. Dustless only smiled when he heard this. However, you seem to be mistaken about one thing. Dustless suddenly changed the topic and looked down at Sanjo Kuei expressionlessly. I'm sparing your life, not because I can't kill you, but because your sister and I know each other. As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless took a step forward and brushed past Sangong Kuei, completely ignoring him. You don't come over. When Bai Mu saw this, he panicked and roared hysterically, I am the successor of the Bai clan. If you kill me, my father will not let you off easily. He's the marshal of the Imperial Ghost Army. Even now, you still have such laughable thoughts. Dustless couldn't help but shake his head as he sneered. Do you think that if I kill you your father will fall out with me? He once betrothed his daughter to me. Why do you think he did that? If the sacrifice of such an ambitious pawn as yourself could buy my support, your father Qianli would gladly accept it. Furthermore, Dustless then squinted his eyes, which were full of mockery. I forgot to tell you, your father once gave me a special order. I want you to obey me. The Dusk Man's eyes shone with a cold light as he spoke without thinking. Obey you. Wu Qin glanced at Ji Mu and thought, how narcissistic is this guy? Does he think he's infallible? Isn't it? The Twilight Man raised his head as much as he could and said arrogantly, my ambition is the world, not a small Japan. Father is old, and his thinking is outdated. The future world doesn't need people like him, so, isn't it normal for you to submit to me? Puh! Dustless couldn't help but laugh out loud. He looked sympathetically at the Dusk Man and said in a compassionate tone, then I'm afraid the answer I'm about to give you will disappoint you. Ideas are often beautiful, but reality is ruthless and cruel. Dustless decisively said, I'm sorry, the order your father gave me is to kill you. After Dustless's words fell, the whole scene was silent. Many people widened their eyes and looked at each other, especially the Dusk Man's subordinates, who were in disbelief. As the Emperor Ghost Army's marshal, Ji Tianli actually wanted to kill his own son? This was too unbelievable. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The Dusk Man was stunned for a moment before he roared. His expression changed drastically, and he shouted weakly, although father is ruthless, he won't kill me. He knows that I'm still useful, so he will never kill me. You think too highly of yourself. When I appeared, there was no meaning for your existence. Dustless was still ruthless and sarcastic. It sounds unbelievable, but the reality is like this. Dustless didn't talk nonsense. He suddenly took out a letter and threw it in front of the Dusk Man. Open it and take a look. I think you should recognize your father's handwriting. There are some things that I don't need to say, your father already understands. Humph, I don't believe that father will kill me. The Twilight Tribe member snatched the envelope and read it carefully. After a few seconds, his face changed. It turned green and white, with a hint of fear and hatred. This damn old man. I've worked hard for so many years, but now he wants to burn the bridge after crossing the river and kill me. The Dusk Man tore the letter into pieces and roared unwillingly. The content was simple. It only hoped that Dustless would kill the Dusk Man. The reason was simple. The Dusk Man wanted to seize power and replace Ji Tianli as the Emperor Ghost Army's marshal. Ji Tianli, who hadn't enjoyed enough power, naturally couldn't watch his son seize it. Therefore, he had given Dustless such an order. It was just that all along, Dustless had never obeyed. Sir Duskman, please don't do this. Two streams of tears fell from Sangong Kuei's eyes as she looked at Dustless with hostility. You're courting death. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes turned cold and he swung his saber. Puchi! The shimmering fruit's heavenly sword of gathering clouds cut through Sangong Kuei's chest at the speed of light. Her skin was torn open and there was no time for her to react. What insane speed! By the time everyone reacted, Sangong Kuei was already lying in a pool of blood. What should we do? The Duskman's expression changed. Looking at Sangong Kuei, who was unwilling to die, his cold expression showed no mercy. He even scolded, "This trash can't even stall for time. Useless. It's better for trash like this to die early. Do you have the right to talk about others?" Dustless sneered. The shimmering sword of gathering clouds swept out again and went straight for the Duskman's head. Kacha! The Duskman's head was like a fragile watermelon. It was split in half by Dustless's saber. Brain matter splattered everywhere. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2401. Hoo! Seeing the death of Chen Mu, the members of the Emperor Ghost Army gasped and widened their eyes in disbelief. Their shock was clear to see. The Lieutenant General of the Emperor Ghost Army, the eldest son of the Chen family, was killed without any hesitation. He didn't even give Chen Tianli any face. It's over, it's over, it's really over this time. Everyone was stunned as they stared at the cold Dustless. Their hearts trembled. Now, who else wants to try? Wu Chen's clear and cold eyes looked around and asked indifferently. His tone was extremely calm, like an ancient well without ripples. However, when it entered the ears of everyone, it was like a bolt from the blue. It scared everyone to the point that they repeatedly retreated. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. Quickly run! Some of the Ghost Army couldn't stand the fear and ran away. The large group of people instantly collapsed. Truly a bunch of useless trash. Seeing this, Dustless disdainfully lowered his head and sighed. His handsome face was filled with boredom. Now you see clearly what kind of person he is. Little brat, you're still a bit immature. Many people were stunned when they heard Wu Chen's thought-provoking words. They turned their heads and saw the scene that was reflected in their eyes. Everyone was so shocked that they cried out involuntarily. Sangong Kuei, wasn't this guy dead? Why did he suddenly come back to life? Did he come back to life? Everyone's attention was focused on Sangong Kuei, who was originally dead, coming back to life. His body was still riddled with wounds, but his complexion was much better. Dead? What do these people mean? How am I dead? Sangong Kuei was confused, not understanding what these people were talking about. They have this illusion because I released an illusion on everyone just now. Dustless paused for a moment and then said with a chuckle, "It's only at this time that you can see through a person's nature." Why? You saw what Twilight Knight did just now and you still want to be loyal to him? Dustless coldly asked. Of course, if you want to stay loyal to Ji Mu and want revenge, I welcome you at any time. However, this time I will really kill you. Idiot. Die early and be free. Boom boom boom. A murderous aura burst out of his body and pounced on Sangong Kuei. She was already on the verge of death, but she was even more vulnerable. She was like a weak willow branch that could only go with the flow. Not anymore. After a moment of silence, Sangong Kuei suddenly shook her head. There was a trace of deep despair on her face. I have always been loyal to Lord Mu Ren. I never thought that I would end up like this. It's good that you know it's time to repent. Dustless did not waste any more words. He nodded silently and continued. The Imperial Ghost Army is no longer suitable for you. Because of your sister, I won't make things difficult for you. Leave the Imperial Ghost Army. I can guarantee your safety. Thank you, Lord Dustless. Sangong Kuei was extremely grateful. He bowed deeply to Dustless. Go go. Dustless waved his hand and said, You're still young. Your future. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. It was also in this short moment that an ear-piercing roar pierced through the void. Several deep blue rays of light poured down. Just as they were about to hit Wu Chen, these rays of light turned into ferocious white tigers, their eyes revealing a ferocious glint. Awoo! Awoo! The majestic tiger was extremely domineering, and the oppressive roar made people retreat in fear. Is it late at night? Raising his head, he casually glanced at the giant tiger that was swallowing him. Wu Chen's deep eyes looked into the distance. A dark ink spot could be ignored, but he still found it because of his excellent eyesight, and he saw it clearly. At the same time, the tiger that descended from the sky opened its mouth at the largest angle and swallowed Dustless with a gulp. How is this possible? Is General Dustless dead? He's a top master who crushed the Lieutenant General of the Dark Twilight Tribe. I heard that he can fight thousands of vampires alone. How could he die? Humph. So what? That guy is too arrogant. He thinks he can be arrogant after killing the Lieutenant General of the Dark Twilight Tribe. But he still has other tricks up his sleeve. Dead. What a pity. General Wu Chen might have been able to lead us to a renaissance, but he fell just like that. Sigh. Many of the Emperor Ghost Army looked at the huge blue tiger that landed on the ground and sighed. It was a pity. They thought that the future of mankind was lost, and they might have lost a chance to fight back against the vampires. Of course, there were even some who were gloating. Oh, worms one after another. Since you all want to die, I won't grant your wish. That's too much. In the stomach of the huge blue tiger, Dustless was safe and sound. He gently stretched out his slender hand and waved it forward. A straight flash of light appeared and compressed rapidly, finally turning into a huge golden sword. Heavenly Sword of Clouds. The moment the light sword was formed, Dustless did not waste any time. He raised his hand and slashed down. A huge golden light flew out. A huge crack appeared on the abdomen of the huge blue tiger. It was simple and easy. Gulp. Isn't that too scary? However, this scene was unbelievable in the eyes of others. They were so surprised that their jaws almost dislocated. He had been swallowed by the tiger. How could he still be alive? In the end, he even broke out of the abdomen. This was too strange. If you want to die, I'll grant your wish. It's late at night. Anyway, I'm here. A cold voice came from the abdomen of the tiger. Then, the huge body exploded with a bang, revealing Dustless, who was unscathed. His face was bright and his eyes were bright. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2402. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Late night, I'm here anyway. A cold voice came from the tiger's abdomen. Then, the huge body exploded with a bang, revealing Dustless, who was unscathed. His face was bright and his eyes were bright. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Before Dustless could finish his words, the dense attack swept over again. The pure blue light descended like a shot of a bullet, riddling Dustless's body with holes. Even so, Dustless still stood there unmoved. He was an ability user who had eaten the glint fruit. He looked up and disdainfully looked at the small black dots in the distance. He said sarcastically, "Late night, you should have heard of it. The probability of this kind of pure physical attack hurting me is 0. Even though they were a few hundred meters apart, Dustless's words crossed the space and fell into Late Night's ears. Damn monster, how did this monster do it? Late Night spat and cursed. He was really disgusted by Dustless's ability. It didn't matter if a person was strong enough to make you despair. After all, you could work hard to make up for the gap between you and him. But for an ability like Dustless, no matter how you attacked, he would be unharmed. How could such a shameless and cunning ability be broken? There was no solution at all. Kill those humans for me. It was also at this time that a group of vampires suddenly appeared. Their eyes were ferocious, like tigers that had not eaten for 10 days. They pounced on the Emperor Ghost Army, and the bloody battle began. Freed and Crowley. These two fellows have finally made their move. In that case, I don't need to deal with this group of Emperor Ghost Army anymore. Dustless leaped out, transforming into a dazzling ray of light as he pounced forward. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The golden ray of light cut across the sky like a peerless divine sword splitting the earth. The unstoppable sharpness made people feel powerless, and they didn't even have the courage to resist. Jean Late Night, who noticed that Dustless was closing in on him in an instant, had an even more colorful expression on his face. He was extremely angry. He's so strong that it's hard to deal with him. He also has a move that's immune to physical attacks. His speed is also so fast. How can we fight him? Jia Late Night cursed again and immediately ran away. He was a sniper and was responsible for long-range attacks. Close combat was not his forte, especially when the enemy was dustless. You want to run after ambushing me? The sneer was accompanied by a blinding ray of light. The ray of light was simply too fast, and the moment he stood up and took a step forward, the Dusky Witch was already heavily injured. Puchi! The light accurately hit the Dusky Man's calf, and Knee Demon was immediately penetrated. He screamed, "Ah!" and fell to the ground. His handsome cheeks were bleeding. TSK, how tragic. What a pity for that face. The laughter of Schadenfreude was so ear-piercing that the Dusk people turned their heads and saw Dustless's ugly face. "It's you again." The Dusky Witch clenched his fists. His eyes were sunken, and the light that shot out was scarier than a beast and more threatening than an eagle. "What do you mean it's me again?" Dustless was speechless. This guy ambushed him, and he didn't want him to find trouble with him? What kind of logic was this? Bang! Taking advantage of Dustless's carelessness, the Dusky Witch fired another shot of blue light at Dustless's head. "You're too careless. I'm also from the Emperor Ghost Army." Tens ho! The blue bullet was suddenly engulfed by a ball of black fire. It was so fast that it was incinerated in the blink of an eye. Not even a trace of residue was left. Sorcery, sorcery. It's definitely sorcery. Seeing this scene, Jia Late Night's eyes almost exploded. His ultimate move was nothing in front of Dustless. The other party didn't even move his hand, he just blinked his eyes. It's right to feel that it's hard to accept. In fact, in this world, you can't understand. There are countless things that are beyond your knowledge. What you know before is just a side of it. Wu Chen's expression was gloomy, as oppressive as a dead tree bark. His lifeless aura made Wu Late Night shudder and the blood in his entire body boil. Jia Late Night, although your surname is also Dusky, you hate the Dusky family very much. You can't wait for this family to be destroyed as soon as possible, right? Dustless looked at Jia Late Night deeply and said, "In other words, you didn't come to save Dusky Witch just now. If you really want to save him, you won't wait for me to kill him. Let me guess, it's that kid Ike's Honren, right?" Hearing this, Jia Late Night looked at Dustless in shock, and immediately denied. "Nonsense, his surname is Ike's, and I'm from the Dusky family. He's from the Branch family, and the Dusky family is the main family, even if I'm the adopted son." Dustless curled his lips and sneered. "You speak so righteously, but you just want to protect Ike's Honren. Idiot. You think you can protect him? Let me tell you, no matter what, that kid will be torn into pieces." Bang bang bang. As if he was really angered by Dustless's words, Jia Late Night fired again. The bullets whistled and penetrated Dustless's body, leaving a few holes. An ordinary person would definitely die, but this kind of simple injury didn't affect Dustless at all. His face was as calm as stagnant water. A bright and warm golden light emerged from his wounds, and in an instant, they were healed by the Glint Fruit's elemental conversion ability. Hateful monster. Jia Late Night closed his eyes in despair. He really felt powerless against Dustless. "It's good that you're in despair, farewell." Dustless didn't waste any time. All kinds of divine weapons appeared from the space behind him, and he shouted, "King's treasure!" Shoo shoo shoo. Groups of sharp weapons shot out at the same time. Jia Late Night was a person with broken legs, so he couldn't move. He could only watch helplessly. Puchi. Similar to the method used to kill Yuichiro, Jia Late Night was also pierced by countless weapons, leaving bloody holes in his body. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2403. You will not have a good ending. Xiao Late Night's eyes were wide open. His eyes were bloodshot, and his eyes, which were like copper tombs, turned blood red. His exaggerated eyes were terrifying, as if they were going to swallow Wu Chen. "Still struggling on your deathbed?" Dustless narrowed his eyes and flicked his slender hand. A cold light shot out from his eyes. Amaterasu. In a flash, Jean Late Night's battered body burned with black flames. The black light looked like it came from hell. In an instant, the smell of burnt human flesh could be smelled. A cool breeze suddenly drifted past. That nauseating smell entered everyone's nostrils, causing many people to vomit uncontrollably. Kill me if you have the guts. You bastard. Jean Late Night, who was being tortured by the Amaterasu, roared loudly. No, no, no. Dustless shook his finger and said coldly, wouldn't that be letting you off too easily? Don't think that I don't know what you are thinking. You want to scold me because you want me to kill you as soon as possible. How can there be such an easy thing in this world? I want to burn you to death slowly with the Amaterasu. Dustless's voice seemed to be filled with magic. The black fire burning on Jean Late Night's body was immediately extinguished and became abnormally dim. But because of this, the burning speed of the flames slowed down. But when it landed on a person, it was extremely painful and torturous as it slowly burned to death. Ah! A skinny middle-aged man stood above the ruins. His eyes were as clear as spring water. This was the second primogenitor, Qi Teng. At this moment, he was rubbing his chin and looking into the distance with a faint smile on his face. It's time to take a look. Qi Teng's gaze moved slowly again. A huge city rose from the east and Qi Teng looked over. The third primogenitor, Krulutsapizi. A ray of light shot out from his onyx-like eyes, giving off the feeling of a rising sun in the dark night. It was exceptionally dazzling and attracted a lot of attention. Swish! 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 Qi Teng turned into a black shadow and sped away. His body was as light as a swan, and his every movement was natural. Even the uneven mountains were like flat plains, and his movements were exceptionally light. From this, one could see Qi Teng's power. Even though he had stepped down for thousands of years, he hadn't regressed. In fact, he seemed to have improved. As for Qi Teng's identity, it was rather complicated and mysterious. Not only was he the second ancestor of vampires, but he was also the person in charge of the 100 Knights cult. Even this Seraph of Termination project was related to him. It could even be said that Sai Tu was the one who used Yuichiro and Michael as guinea pigs for experiments. Ta-ta-ta-ta. In the gloomy corridor, light footsteps could be heard. Although they were soft and almost inaudible, those with good ears could still hear them clearly. It seems like an uninvited guest has arrived. Inside the brightly lit palace, Kalulu raised his eyes that were like spring water. Ripples spread out in his eyes as he looked into the distance. He narrowed his eyes and carefully observed the figure that was walking over from the dark corridor. Seems familiar. Krulu frowned slightly. Confusion appeared in his eyes. He couldn't help but scratch his head and recall his experiences over the past thousands of years. He felt that this mysterious man in a black suit was somewhat familiar, but he couldn't remember who he was. Oh, don't you remember me? At the same time, Sai Tu also walked into the lobby. He looked around, took a deep breath and said with a smile, I smell something special, Klulu. What do you mean? Also, who are you? Don't talk to me like I'm an old friend. I'm not familiar with you. Krulu glared at him coldly and shouted in an unfriendly tone. She was on her guard. This guy must be extraordinary to be able to pass through so many defenses. Only Dustless could do this. Ah. Qi Teng's eyes froze when he heard this. He asked in surprise. Don't you remember me? We met 1,000 years ago. Have you forgotten? The man who always followed the primogenitor. Krula's eyes narrowed when she heard Qi Teng's words. Two people appeared in her mind. They were both the second primogenitor. One of them was Qi Teng, and the other was Ji, who was also the second primogenitor. Why are you here? Your hair wasn't like this back then. Kru immediately clenched his fists as his little face twitched. It was as if he had encountered a dangerous natural enemy. His entire body felt uneasy. Even though his little face was calm and collected, it was now covered with a haze. Don't be so nervous. I'm not as scary as you think. Qi Teng smiled gently. It was hard to imagine that he was the second primogenitor. He gave off a stable and reliable impression. Even so, Krulu was still nervous. She forced a smile and said, Oh, is that so? Then Rig Stafford. No, that's your original name. That's right. I'm Qi Teng now. Qi Teng nodded and said abruptly, I'm no longer a vampire. Rick Stafford is my vampire name. It's only natural for me to change it. Before that, I have a question for you. Suddenly, Sato's face changed, revealing an extremely terrifying and gloomy look. I smell a unique scent. It seems to be a human. I remember that guy's name. I think it's Wuxia. He seems to be the only general of the Emperor Ghost Army. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2404. Thump. Hearing Sata's words, Klulu became even more nervous. She didn't know Sata's background before, but now she knew that he wasn't a friendly person. Oh! Klulu, don't be so afraid. I'm not here to cause trouble for you. Sai too seemed to have seen through Klulu's fear. He smiled warmly like the sun. However, such a warm and heart-piercing smile didn't erase the shadow in Klulu's heart. Instead, it made her feel even more uncomfortable. This was the smile of a devil. The matter between Wu Chen and me. Where exactly did this fellow get the news? Kalyalu's heart was filled with doubts. His crystal pupils were covered with a layer of mist. He was puzzled. Suddenly, he looked at Saito's thin figure and felt that this figure was too terrifying. It was as if no secret could be hidden from his eyes. Oh! Looking at your expression, does that mean you admit it? Sai too pursed his lips and chuckled. He rubbed his fingers in boredom and continued. I heard that Fried had some kind of premeditated plan with him. It seems that he wants that guy to kill me. I don't understand. I don't know about the deal between them. Klulu shook her head indifferently. This time, she really didn't know. Dustless didn't tell her about the deal between him and Fried. Therefore, Klulu really didn't know about it. This was the truth. I know you don't understand. I took the liberty to visit today because I want to see what's so special about that guy. Sata's playful expression suddenly disappeared. He said seriously, to be able to subdue the third ancestor of the vampire queen, Klulu, and my rebellious son Fried. To be honest, I'm a little curious about this kind of person. Sai too spoke with confidence. A hint of caution flashed in his eyes. Even though he spoke calmly, he was actually quite afraid. He knew the world of vampires better than Dustless. If he wanted Klulu to listen to him, he must have the strength to crush her. Moreover, his cunning son, Fried, was flirting with Dustless. It was enough to tell that he was extraordinary. I'm sorry, but your hopes are dashed. I know what you want from me. It's about Dustless, right? Actually, I don't know much about him. In fact, I don't even know as much as you do. So you should give up. Klulu said coldly. She really didn't know Dustless. In the past few years, the number of times the two sides had met could be counted on one's fingers, not to mention understanding each other. Dustless had always been mysterious. You don't understand? Qi Ting's eyes flashed with a cold light as soon as he finished speaking, and the elegance on his face disappeared. His expression changed faster than flipping a book. I'm just stating a fact. Since you know that he's my boss, have you ever seen a boss tell his own secrets to his subordinates? Krugeru was full of vigilance. She had already smelled a ghastly killing intent, and she felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Her entire body shivered uncontrollably, and she felt extremely uncomfortable. You're right, but these words aren't enough to make me leave. Qi Ting smiled slyly, and his handsome face revealed a sinister expression. Even if you really don't know Klulu, you're still a hostage with value. No matter what, Klulu was related to Dustless. You want to deal with me? Hearing this, Klulu was like a flood that broke through a dam, and a murderous intent spread unstoppably. Although she wasn't as strong as the second ancestor, it didn't mean that she would just sit there and wait for death. The great ancestor will never let you go. Knowing that her chances of winning were close to zero, Klulu had no choice but to use the first ancestor, the origin of vampires. However, Qi Ting only shook his head. Are you an idiot? Your reaction is really slow. Didn't I say before that I'm now called Qi Ting? I've abandoned my previous name, and at the same time, I've also abandoned my identity as a vampire. Do you understand? Not to mention that I'm no longer a vampire, even if I'm still the second ancestor. Do you think you can make me leave just by threatening me? What a joke. Chi Teng couldn't help but curl his lips, and his handsome face was full of disdain. Go to hell! Seeing that the negotiation was useless, Klulu shot out, his black afterimage disappearing in the blink of an eye, rushing forward like a meteor. Poochie! The black shadow pierced through Chi Teng, and with a cracking sound, one of Chi Teng's arms was cut off. His sleeves were also torn off, and his black suit was very obvious. You! Chi Teng's face turned ugly, and he turned to look at Klulu in surprise. After not seeing you for so many years, you've become much stronger. Looks like you've worked very hard. Most importantly, that guy taught me well. Klulu smiled in high spirits and said proudly, the second ancestor? He's worse than I thought. Chi Teng wasn't angry when he heard that. When he heard, that guy taught me well, he immediately understood. Even though they were on opposite sides, he couldn't help but frown. You're talking about Dustless, right? Teskeske. It's really surprising that he can make you so much stronger. At that moment, even I didn't react in time. These words were from the bottom of his heart. When Klulu launched a sneak attack, his speed was too fast, and when he realized it, his arm was already broken. But Chi Teng suddenly changed the topic and sneered. Klulu, no matter how well he taught you, you're still not Dustless. Chi Teng suddenly shook his shoulder, and a clang 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 sound was heard, as if iron chains were rolling. Then, his broken arm was reattached, and it was as good as new. The most terrifying thing was that Chi Teng's body had changed drastically, and dense iron chains shot out from his back like a spider web. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 rating plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. Chapter 2405. Saito was like a spider crawling on the iron net made of chains, staring at Klulu. Even though he was expressionless, Klulu felt like he was being stared at by the Grim Reaper. When a tiger loses patience with its prey, it will show its most ferocious side. Saito was just like that. I have to say, you've really surprised me. You've improved so much, and it's all thanks to a human. Everyone will be shocked if they hear about this. After all, you're the third primogenitor, but you managed to break the arm of the second primogenitor. You're not simple, Saito said slowly. His expression was cold and as steady as a rock. TSK, you put it nicely, but you're still scared, aren't you? Just like what that guy said, everyone likes to bully the weak and fear the strong. Klulu said disdainfully. He could see that Sato's face was unnatural and his lips were trembling. As Dustless said before, bullying the weak and fearing the strong was the nature of a person. However, your current appearance is also very frightening. Your arm was twisted and you don't smell blood. At this point, Klulu's tone sank. Are you a human or a ghost right now? Klulu stared at Chi Teng without blinking. His cute cheeks were tense and wrinkled. He sincerely felt that the Chi Teng in front of him was too terrifying. His appearance was handsome and bright, but his mind was unfathomable, like a bottomless abyss. It was impossible to see through his essence. This guy is strong. I'm not his opponent. Klulu thought to himself. His chest was panting uncomfortably. Although Klulu had the upper hand in the previous exchange, he had used all his strength. Sato's dodging was just the tip of the iceberg. Ayaya. I'm embarrassed to hear you say that. Saito waved his hand like a little girl and said seriously. Do you know why we were abandoned by the ancestor? It's because I'm still a vampire. The times have changed and my identity has to change. This is how the times should be. Otherwise, I'll be eliminated. Saito pursed his lips, his mouth curved into a smile. Obviously, he admitted that he wasn't a vampire. Brother, Klulu muttered. She suddenly thought of her brother, and her beautiful eyes dimmed. Her brother had been chosen by the first primogenitor, and both of them had mysteriously disappeared. When they met again, he had actually become a ghost. Truly, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Swish, swish, swish. All of a sudden, a gust of chilly wind assaulted his entire body. The absent-minded Klulu immediately shuddered and cursed himself for being careless. Cut the crap, hurry up. The words that came out of his mouth came to an abrupt halt. Seeing the black shadow in front of him, Klulu's expression changed greatly and he retreated without hesitation. Too slow. Saito coldly snorted, his figure moving like a ghost as he quickly closed the distance between them. Although Klulu's strength had greatly improved, he was still a third-generation primogenitor while Saito was a second-generation primogenitor. There was a huge gap between them. Even if Dustless had trained him well, it was impossible for Klulu to become as strong as a second-generation primogenitor in just a few years. Get over here! Several iron chains shot out from Saito's back. They were like strong giant snakes that nimbly wrapped around Klulu's legs. Soon after, Saito exerted a little force, and Klulu couldn't break free from that terrifying force and instantly flew over. Bang! Ka! Saito's ferocious nature erupted as his big hand suddenly pressed down on Cruz's cheek and immediately smashed him to the ground, crushing a large area of the floor. Although it didn't harm Cruz's life, he still spat out a large mouthful of blood. Ayaya! Why is it so exaggerated? I only used a little force. Why do you look like you're about to be crippled? Saito asked with a mocking smile, full of disdain. I have nothing to say. Kill me if you want. Klulu's courage was commendable, and he didn't even blink. You'd rather die than tell me about Dustless? Saito's face slightly trembled, extremely surprised. He didn't expect that Klulu would be willing to risk his life to not reveal information about Dustless. Humph, don't compare me with a treacherous villain like you. You want me to betray you? Are you worthy? Are you worthy? Don't say that I don't know what kind of mysterious person Dustless is. Even if I knew, don't expect me to tell you. Compared to him, you're simply a joke. No, to put it more bluntly, you're a fart. Klulu's tone was sharp like a knife, stabbing into the weakest part of Saito's body. Obviously, she was also unafraid of death. Mocking the second ancestor was a fart. She was simply seeking death. Humph. Hearing this, although Saito didn't kill Klulu on the spot, his eyes were filled with the light of a death god. It wasn't hard to see that once he got the information he wanted, he would definitely not hesitate to destroy the flower. You don't dare? Klulu curled her lips in disdain, and her sneer became even more obvious. I thought you were a fart just now, but now you're even less than a fart. Just a name alone is enough to make you not dare to act rashly. If Dustless himself comes, won't you still kneel and beg for mercy? This is the second ancestor, Saito? If word gets out, it's two. Gotcha! Saito seemed to have had enough of Klulu's nagging. He controlled the iron chain on his right arm and shot it out. A dark light fell from the sky like a divine sword. A cold light flashed from the right side of Klulu's body. After a loud bang, Klulu's right arm disappeared. That's it? Saito, you're too useless. Klulu didn't even blink when his right arm was chopped off. Instead, he said, since you're so eager to get information about Dustless, it can only mean that you're afraid of him. Ayaya. I'm impressed by your glib tongue, Klulu. Did you learn this from Dustless? Sure enough, it's true that a famous teacher produces a brilliant student. As if he had really accepted his fate, Saito retracted all the iron chains on his body and slowly approached Klulu step by step. Klulu's expression didn't change. Although her arm was chopped off, she didn't seem to feel any pain. Or rather, she was used to it. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish, Klulu. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2406. Saito is like the Grim Reaper. Don't be fooled by his gentlemanly appearance. In fact, he's a cunning old fox. There were countless people who had been cheated by him. Die! Saito roared. Dense chains shot out from his back and aimed at Klulu's heart. Am I going to die? Klulu closed her eyes in despair. Now that things had come to this, she had no regrets. She had no regrets following Wu Chen. If she died today, she could only blame herself for being inferior. She was actually grateful to Wu Chen. Bang 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 bang. The dense chains hit Klulu's body, but there's no bloody scene. It's like hitting a rock. Klulu is unharmed. All the chains shot out by Saito bounced back. What is that? Saito narrowed his eyes and suddenly found something wrong. What is this? At this moment, not to mention Saito, even Crew realized that something was wrong. In front of her, a transparent barrier appeared out of nowhere. It's the barrier that blocked Sato's attack. There's someone else here? Saito said to himself in horror. His eyes widened to the maximum. He looked as far as he could, but there was no one there. Strange. Looking at the wall in front of Klulu, Saito was puzzled. Could it be that the heavens had opened their eyes and saved Klulu? What a joke. Looking at Klulu's blank face, she obviously doesn't know what's going on. Vampires are really a slow race. A cold voice suddenly came. Sato's heart suddenly trembled. Cold sweat dripped down his body. He quickly looked over. What kind of master is this? Even I didn't notice him. Coming and going without a trace. Didn't that mean that this person could kill him as easily as flipping his hand? Thinking of this, Saito suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He felt like there's a big sword on his neck. It's you. Sato's face changed when he saw the person. His handsome face almost turned into a pig liver. I should have known it was this guy. But I'm sorry. You didn't think it was me until the end. Although you've seen my real body now, I'm sorry to tell you that it's too late. Wu Chen spoke with fervor and assurance. His words scared Qi Ting so much that his face turned ashen. This sentence revealed too much meaning. Listening to Wu Chen's words, it seemed that Wu Chen wanted to kill him. You want to kill my people? You're overestimating yourself. Glancing at Kalulu, Wu Chen didn't hide his contempt and said directly, I can beat 10 trash like you. Beat 10 of me? Sato's mouth twitched. He felt like he can't stand it anymore. He used to be the second ancestor. But this guy said that he can beat 10 of him. Your Excellency is too presumptuous. Sooner or later, you will fail miserably. Saito coldly shouted. If he didn't fart now, he would really be looked down upon. Presumptuous? Nonsense. Actually, I've restrained myself enough. Dustless shook his head and said indifferently, I'll be frank. You should be proud that I can talk to you. PFFF. Saito almost spat out his saliva. Can't this guy be more low-key? He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. It was as if he was the loser. Sir Dustless. Seeing Dustless appear, Klulu was touched. She thought that she would be abandoned. Who would have thought that Dustless would fight with Saito for her? You're too reckless to fight with me for a pawn? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Saito asked in a puzzled manner. If he were Dustless, he would have decisively refused. Fight with you? Are you an idiot? This is just a one-sided annihilation. Dustless sneered. Idiots nowadays like to think that they're infallible. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2407. Ah, you've been modified into this? Dustless's interest was piqued. He picked up a broken part and said, Forgive me for being blunt, but even if you modified yourself, it doesn't change much. You're still dead. It's just a matter of lifting my foot. No matter how sturdy the machine was, it was just a matter of lifting a foot for Dustless. Is that so? Saito, who was supposed to be dead, spoke again with a hint of pride in his voice. You want to destroy me with a single kick? You're looking down on me. With that, a large number of chains shot out from Sato's back and grabbed all the broken parts and stuffed them back into his head. In the blink of an eye, Saito was back to normal. Even his mangled face was restored to its original state. He didn't seem to have suffered any injuries at all. I can't kill you with a single kick? Dustless smiled contemptuously. He lifted his foot and stepped on Sato's head again. Then let's do it again. Bang! A brutal kick landed on the back of Sato's head. The repaired head shattered like a watermelon. Some parts even turned into powder. So strong. Klulu clicked her tongue. At this moment, the third ancestor was like a little girl who had never seen the world. She was shocked by Dustless's strength. The second ancestor, Saito, was like a pawn that couldn't even withstand a single blow. Klulu felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction when she saw him being stepped on. Seems like I've followed the right person. The corners of Klulu's mouth inadvertently revealed a trace of a charming smile. She looked at Dustless with a slightly different gaze. At this moment, Klulu was quite charming. She had lost the arrogance and nobility that belonged to a queen and had gained the cuteness and playfulness of an ordinary girl. B** starred. This is so frustrating. Sato's crushed head was repaired again. Although it was unscathed, Sato's face was green with anger. He was a well-known figure, the second ancestor of the vampires. He had lived for thousands of years. What had he not seen before? Saito knew that there were only a few people in the world who could be compared with him, but Dustless was the one in front of him. His head had been crushed by Dustless over and over again. Although his body could recover without limit, it was still a great humiliation for him. Have you finally realized that you're worthless? Lowering his head to look at the furious Qi Tang, Wu Chen casually said, sometimes, it's not a good thing to be immortal. Being tortured over and over again, being hit over and over again, it's better to die early. The earlier you die, the earlier you can reincarnate. B** starred. Don't underestimate me. Hearing this, Sato's eyelids twitched fiercely. He supported himself on all fours and raised his head forcefully. Because of anger, his eyes turned blood red. He glared at the expressionless Wu Chen, trying to push away the stinky foot on his head. Seeing this, Wu Chen's eyes flashed coldly. Who allowed you to look up at me? Light-speed kick. His right foot stepped on Sato's head, creating a dazzling destructive light, as if it was plated with a layer of gold. Due to the high temperature, Sato's head began to melt. The top of his head was burnt to a golden color, slowly melting. A clear fist-sized hole appeared, through which Sato's head could be seen. Boom, boom, boom. The shining foot exploded, and the ground trembled. Sato's body was blown to smithereens, leaving nothing behind. His body parts were scattered all over the place. Bang! A pitch-black sphere fell in front of Klulu. She looked down and saw that it was an eyeball, and it was still spinning. Disgusting! Seeing this, Crew was indescribably annoyed. He decisively stepped on it, and with a bang, it shattered into powder. The technology of the 100 Knights sect can be called a black weapon. They actually transformed Saito into such a monster. No wonder he abandoned his vampire body. If he couldn't create a suitable body for Saito, he obviously wouldn't give up his original identity as a vampire. This modified body could be said to be heaven-defying. No matter what kind of damage it suffered, it could be repaired flawlessly. The vampire in the past was also powerful. Only the ghost curse weapon could kill him. Other weapons were useless. However, they were not as powerful as Sato's modified body. Does that mean this guy can't be killed? Cruella opened her mouth and asked in shock. No matter how she attacked, she couldn't kill his body. How powerful was that? Didn't that mean he was invincible? In other words, even Dustless couldn't kill him. Hee. You only know how powerful I am now? Sorry, it's too late. Sato's broken body reformed again. He even ignored Cruella. His eyes were locked on Dustless with murderous intent. This kid had humiliated him so much that he had to pay for it. Whoosh, whoosh. Countless black chains once again broke out of his body. There were so many of them that the naked eye couldn't see them all. The only thing that could be seen was a dense mass. There were more than thousands of them. It was hard to imagine what kind of monster Saito had been transformed into. How could such a thin body contain so many chains? A spider. Seeing Sato's exaggerated posture, Cruella cursed and quickly hid behind Dustless's back. This was the only safe place in the world. Let's stop the fight between kids. Wu Chen was a little impatient. Several black balls suddenly appeared behind his back. They were about the size of a fist. Disappear without a trace. Dustless flicked his finger gently, and several balls shot directly at Chi-Tung like cannonballs. Using these truth-seeking balls to eliminate him was giving this kid face. Crack, crack. The moment the sphere appeared, everything within a radius of 70 meters inexplicably collapsed, including Sato's ferocious chains. Everything disappeared without any warning. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2408. What the hell is this? This was the first time in his life that Saito screamed. His trembling voice was filled with endless fear. Witnessing such a horrifying scene, His blood began to boil uncontrollably. The moment the black sphere appeared, it was as if the world had come to an end. Everything in the world began to crumble rapidly. Not only did the chains that Sai-Tu shot out crumble, but even the grass and trees around him disappeared without a trace. Even the abandoned buildings collapsed inexplicably and turned into a pile of yellow sand in the blink of an eye. What kind of ability is this? How can a mere human have such an ability? Could this guy be the reincarnation of a god? Sai-Tu looked constipated. It was as if he had swallowed a pound of flies. It was as ugly as it could get. Bang! At the same time, Saita's body began to dismember inexplicably. Fix it! Sai-Tu roared angrily. Once again, he shot out a large number of chains from his body in an attempt to retrieve the broken pieces. Who would have thought that the chains would disappear without a trace the moment they came into contact with the broken pieces? To a certain extent, the truth-seeking jade is indeed an ability that only a god can possess. Dustless spoke frankly. He stared at Saita's half-broken body and said slowly, "No matter how sturdy your body is, it will still turn into ashes in front of the truth-seeking jade. Even your soul will not be able to escape the punishment of the truth-seeking jade. I know I was wrong. Please let me go. I am willing to be your servant." Even though Sai-Tu had lived for thousands of years, he was still terrified in the face of true death. He bowed and begged Dustless for mercy. He still had a grand plan in mind. He was not willing to die like this, especially in such an inexplicable way. "You want to be my slave?" Wu Chen looked at Qi Tang, who was begging for mercy. He was surprised. "Yes, you heard me right. Master Dustless, I am willing to be your servant. I will follow your orders from now on. If you ask me to go east, I will go even if it means going through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire." Sai-Tu patted his chest and vowed. In his opinion, Dustless would definitely agree. He was, after all, one of the top experts in the world. He would be overjoyed to be Dustless's servant. With a second primogenitor as a subordinate, Dustless would be smiling even in his dreams. "I appreciate your kindness, but I'm sorry." Dustless coldly glanced at Qi Tang, obviously rejecting him. "You're too weak. You're not qualified." After that, Dustless controlled the truth-seeking orb to move forward. Under Saita's incredulous gaze, the black orb directly hit his head. Boom, boom, boom. Following a violent explosion, Saito and the ground within a few hundred meters were destroyed. Affected by the shock waves of the truth-seeking orb, even the ground was scorched black. Not a single blade of grass grew, turning the area into a land of death. The dignified second primogenitor died just like that? Crew rubbed his eyes. After discovering that Saito had disappeared, he wasn't as happy as he had imagined. He just stood there in a daze. "Get rid of the word dignified for me. He's just a piece of trash." Dustless said disapprovingly, "You can't say that Saito has no value at all. He must know something about the Seraph of Termination." After Saito stepped down from the position of second primogenitor, he had allied himself with the 100 Knight sect. Moreover, he was the person in charge of the Seraph of Termination. He must know some secrets that no one else knew. Then why did you kill him? Isn't that like throwing a stone into the sea? There's no way for me to find out? Crew looked at Dustless in confusion. In his impression, Dustless was a meticulous person. He wouldn't be so reckless. No. This only proves that you don't understand me." Gazing at the distant horizon, Dustless's lips curled into a thought-provoking smile. Sometimes, it's not good for a secret to be exposed. If you find out the truth one day, you might be disappointed. What's so bad about being in a fog like this? Having a conspiracy is a good thing. At least I won't be bored. What a strange person. Crew shook his head. She didn't understand Dustless's thoughts and couldn't be bothered to ask. Everyone had different pursuits. Crew and Dustless saw the world differently, so their thoughts were naturally different. In a certain meeting room of the Emperor Ghost King, it was different from the previous meetings. At this moment, the floor was covered in blood. The corpses of the Emperor Ghost Kings were everywhere. Some of them had shocking military ranks, but without exception, everyone was lying in a pool of blood. As the Marshal of the Emperor Ghost King, no one dared to challenge his dignity. He was usually high and mighty, but now, he was a miserable stray dog with a knife wound that covered his entire chest. "You Tai Tianli widened his eyes and stared at the figure in front of him. He clenched his fist tightly and threw a punch over. This mysterious figure didn't show any mercy. He directly chopped off Tai Tianli's right arm with a sinister smile that was even scarier than the devil's. You brat, I really regret not killing you back then. Tai Tianli's face turned pale from the pain. He said regretfully, Dustless told me to pay attention to you, brat. I didn't expect to fall in your hands. Is that so? Then, I can only wish for you, old man. This mysterious figure said coldly. With the help of the weak filthy light, one could vaguely see this person's appearance. It was the leader of the Moon Ghost Group, Ike's Honren. It's just as that guy said. The Dusk people want to kill me, and so do you. Tai Tianli closed his eyes in despair. If he had listened to Dustless, he wouldn't be in such a miserable state now. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2409. Dustless? It's that damned guy again. Ever since that guy appeared, everything that I expected to happen has gone against my expectations. It's all because of that stinking brat. At the mention of Wu Chen, the Jinx, Ike's Honglian's somewhat prideful face immediately darkened. Her face tensed up as well. She did not have a good impression of Dustless. Because of Dustless's appearance, a series of accidents had occurred. All of her plans had failed, and now, even G Twilight and his partner, G Late Night, were dead. If it was only because Twilight Walker had been killed, Ike's Hongren would naturally not hate Dustless. On the contrary, she would thank him. After all, although Twilight Walker had a cooperative relationship with her, his surname was still Walker. He also had the blood of the Walker family flowing through his veins. In the end, they would still be enemies in the future. Their current cooperation was only because they shared the same interests. Once the vampires were eliminated in the future, Ike's Hongren and Twilight Walker would become enemies. G Late Night was different. Although his surname was also G, he was only an adopted son. He had no G family blood, and he hated the G family as much as Ike's Hongren. It was also because G Late Night was killed by Dustless that Ike's Hongren hated him to the core. She wanted nothing more than to skin Dustless alive. After all, G Late Night was her most important ally. That's right, it's fine if you didn't mention it. Now that you mention it, I just remembered that Wu Chen has an unusual relationship with you. Tell me about his background. See Tianli, I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, have you tried to slowly peel off your flesh? That feeling is very enjoyable. Ike's Hongren said those words with a smile. The surviving Emperor Ghost Army felt a chill run down their spines. Even Ike's Hongren's subordinates paled. Was this still the gentle Ike's Hongren from before? Now, it was as if she had been possessed by a demon. I do know a lot about him, but I advise you not to ask too much. Some things are too outrageous. You'll think that you're listening to a fairy tale. Tai Tianli panted heavily. He knew that he was on the verge of death. Ike's Red Lotus did not immediately kill him. Instead, she wanted to drain his blood and slowly torture him to death. Are you sure you want me to say it? It's best if you don't, or you'll definitely pee in your pants. That guy is more terrifying than you can imagine. Yun Tianli ridiculed. When he mentioned Dustless, a trace of awe flashed across his eyes. The way he looked at Ike's Red Lotus was like that of a clown, filled with disdain and contempt. In his opinion, a nobody like her who wanted to challenge Dustless was like an ant trying to shake the heavens. She wouldn't even know how she died. Humph, do you think I'm afraid of him? No matter what, even if I have to chase him to the ends of the earth, even if he is dead, I will find his corpse and whip it to vent my anger. Hearing those words, the expression on Ike's Red Lotus's face turned grim and she growled. That fellow killed my most important companion. I want nothing more than to tear him to pieces. Do you think I am afraid of him? Too childish. Ike's Red Lotus was heartbroken when Tian Late Night died. She wanted revenge even in her dreams. Why would she be afraid? Hee. Since you want to know, I will fulfill your wish. I might as well tell you now. You will definitely regret it if you hear it. Yun Tianli smiled strangely and asked, Do you know the leader of the vampires? Nonsense. I-Case Red Lotus snorted coldly. Who doesn't know about this? Not just me, even the regular Emperor Ghost Army knows that the leader of the vampires is the third ancestor, Cthulhu. However, that guy doesn't have the pride and dignity of a vampire. The other vampire nobles like to put on airs and are arrogant. Only Cthulhu is different. He seems to have become Dustless's lackey. No. I don't think so. On the contrary, I think that Queen Cthulhu is very smart. She knows how to adapt to the times. Otherwise, she would have been destroyed long ago. The fact that she can live until now shows that she is very smart. Yun Tianli shook his head and expressed a different opinion. If Cthulhu went against Dustless, he would have died long ago. Finally, he reminded, also the third ancestor, Cthulhu Tsupizi, is the leader of the vampires in Japan. I mean, he is the boss of all vampires. Do you know who he is? Of course I know. Are you trying to say, the legendary first ancestor? But what does this have to do with Dustless? Old thing, don't try to fool me. After a moment of silence, I-Case Red Lotus replied in a heavy tone. The name of the first ancestor was too important. No one had seen him before. No one knew who the first ancestor was. Many people knew that the boss of the vampires was the first ancestor. However, no one had seen him before. Not to mention the legendary first ancestor. No one had even seen the so-called second ancestor. Even the third ancestor, Cthulhu, was invincible. There were some things that the second ancestor did not even need to appear, let alone the first ancestor. Akatsuki Ikanes. Let me tell you a piece of important news. The so-called first primogenitor was actually killed by Dustless many years ago. You self-righteous idiot. Yun Tianli laughed arrogantly at the end of his sentence. He looked at I-Case Red Lotus's shocked and confused face with pride. Needless to say, the topic of conversation this time had truly frightened Hainace Korea. He had always believed in everything, but this time, it was too outrageous. His plan with Hainace Korea had been seriously derailed. The topic was clearly about Dustless's strength and origin. Why did it end up involving the first ancestor of the vampires? The most unacceptable thing was that Yun Tianli said that Dustless killed the first ancestor a few years ago. What kind of situation was this? This joke was not funny at all. Treat this old man. Don't let him die so quickly. You have to pull me out of a big hole. Otherwise, your sons and daughters will die. I-Case Red Lotus ordered coldly. She had already thrown caution to the wind. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:10. Hearing Tai Tianli's explanation, I-Case Hongren's heart palpitated with fear. At the same time, she was deeply puzzled. The secrets involved in this matter were unimaginable. How could the legendary first primogenitor be killed by Dustless? No matter how it was explained, I-Case Hongren found it hard to accept. This was too absurd. It was as if a god who could move mountains and fill seas was killed by a weak human. It was too laughable. Hee. Tai Tianli laughed and looked at I-Case Hongren mockingly. As Tai Tianli had revealed important information, I-Case Hongren did not want him to die so quickly. At the very least, she had to extract some useful information before letting him die. Therefore, she ordered her subordinates to perform emergency treatment on Tai Tianli. Tell me everything you know about Dustless. If I'm satisfied, I can spare your life. No matter what, we are old friends. I-Case Hongren suddenly said, as if she was genuinely kind. She had a complicated expression on her face. Hee. I-Case Hongren, you don't have to pretend anymore. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? You usually like to act mysterious and play tricks on me. When have you ever told me your true feelings? Do you think I'm a child that you can fool? Tai Tianli said with disdain. Who are you? Take a piss and look at your reflection. The word, treacherous, is written on your face. Hearing this, I-Case Hongren's expression changed. She said sternly, Tai Tianli, are you going to protect Dustless? That guy killed your son, the Twilight Man, and Zan Yi. Are you going to let him get away with it? Tell me what you know. Only then will I be able to deal with him and avenge them. Good kill. Wonderful kill. Dustless did not chop the Twilight Man into pieces. That's what I'm most dissatisfied with. Tai Tianli's incomparably valiant reply caused IK's Hongren to be dumbfounded. Is this old man's brain rusty? Fine. Tell me what's the relationship between Dustless and the first primogenitor. Seeing that Tai Tianli refused to speak, IK's Hongren could only ask about other things. Well, since you want to hear it, then I'll tell you. I guarantee that you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll completely understand how powerful and invincible that guy is. Tai Tianli licked his dry lips and recalled the events of a few years ago. His thoughts were lost in his memories. I remember one time when Dustless told me that he had found an interesting toy and was planning to leave for a while. I didn't stop him, but I asked him what mission he was going to carry out. At the time, he only said that he had obtained information about the first ancestor and was going to hunt him down. Yun Tianli was full of admiration. In the entire world, only Dustless dared to say that he would kill the first primogenitor. Regardless of how impressed Ran Tianli was, IK's Red Lotus jaw dropped. Are you trying to say that the toy Dustless found is the first primogenitor? Bullshit. IK's Hanren completely abandoned her gentlemanly elegance as she rudely interrupted the crazy Tai Tianli. Old man, do you believe the words of that fellow? The way I see it, he's just bragging. He's just trying to invite us for battle merits. Idiot. I've worked with Dustless for a few years. I know him better than you. That guy might really lie to others, but he would never lie to us. There's no need for that at all. Inviting us for battle merits is even more nonsense. If he wants to, he can kill me and take the position of marshal any time. IK's Hanren was speechless after hearing Tai Tianli's words. Dustless was indeed not interested in the world. He was only interested in those powerhouses. So what? If I meet him in the future, I'll tear him apart and avenge Midnight. IK's Hanren was silent for a moment before she felt relieved. She glanced at Tai Tianli and suddenly felt extremely annoyed. Slash. With a slash, the sharp blade cut off Tai Tianli's throat and ended his life. His head was even chopped off, turning him into a headless corpse. How did he find the first primogenitor? It shouldn't be. IK's Hanren was filled with doubts that no one could answer. Perhaps only Dustless himself could answer her questions. The first primogenitor was a mysterious and unfathomable figure. He was a legendary existence. It was too surreal to think that he could be killed just like that. In fact, the first primogenitor of the vampires was indeed killed by Dustless a few years ago. As for how he found him, it was actually very simple. When the first primogenitor disappeared, he brought along a Shiratsupizi, who was also known as Ajalamaru. Dustless used him as a breakthrough point and used his Rinnegan to search Ajalamaru's memories. He found some traces of the first primogenitor. After that, he created a large army of white Zetsu to search for his whereabouts. After a period of hard work, he finally found the first primogenitor. He met the leader of the vampires. As the first primogenitor, he was definitely the strongest person in the world. Dustless naturally would not let him go. After a great battle, he crushed him and finally killed the first primogenitor. Almost no one knew about this. Dustless only told Tai Tianli about it. Hold it right there. After killing Saito, Dustless hurried back. There was about a day's difference in time. However, as soon as he arrived at the camp, a group of King Ghost Army soldiers surrounded Dustless with swords. Are you all blind? Dustless asked unkindly. He was the only general in the King Ghost Army. He was considered a household name. Were these idiots deliberately looking for trouble? The criminal Dustless killed Marshal Tai Tianli. You are now wanted. The soldiers surrounding Dustless were alert. Their eyes were shining. Killing Dustless promoted him by 3 ranks. I killed Tai Tianli. That's a good reason. Dustless was puzzled. He did not like the old man, but it was not necessary to kill him. There was no doubt that someone had framed him. Dustless could only think of one person who could do this. IK's Hanren. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:11. I didn't teach that brat a lesson, but he took the initiative to frame me. He used such a despicable trick right from the start. Sure enough, that brat isn't a good person. Dustless directly ignored everyone as he muttered to himself. All this time, he didn't have a good impression of IK's Red Lotus, not even a little. She kept saying that her companions were her family, but in the end, it was the complete opposite. Her so-called family was just a pawn used by IK's Red Lotus. Take Tsukasa Jun for example. IK's Red Lotus clearly knew that his sister was used as a human experiment by the Twilight people and was subjected to all kinds of cruel torture. Yet, she chose to keep her mouth shut and hide it from Tsukasa Jun. Was this how she treated her so-called family? It was worth mentioning that IK's Red Lotus did not help Tsukasa Jun in the end. Instead, she colluded with the Twilight people and conducted the Blazing Angel experiment together. Furthermore, the experimental subject was Tsukasa Jun's sister. It was truly lamentable. Thus, Dustless had always thought that IK's Red Lotus was a treacherous person who hid a knife behind a smile. Her so-called family was just a tool used for experiments. Tsukasa Jun's sister and Hyakuya Yuichiro were examples. Attack together and destroy this bastard. He dares to ignore us? Seeing Dustless in a daze, the Ghost King soldiers surrounding him were enraged. They pulled out their swords and slashed at him. Every one of them had a greedy look on their faces. There was nothing they could do about it. Killing Dustless and getting promoted 3 times was too tempting. Some people spent their entire lives at the bottom. Getting promoted 3 times was like a pie falling from the sky. This condition was really generous. Many people had the idea of killing Wu Chen for promotion, so much so that they even ignored his shocking strength. As the saying goes, people die for wealth and birds die for food. When the reward reached a certain level, even if they knew that there was only a dead end ahead, the people who stepped on the mine would never stop. Yasukani no Magatama. Dustless would definitely not show mercy to this group of people who were seeking death. With a flick of his finger, light bullets shot out like raindrops. Puchi! 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 The light bullets easily pierced through the bodies of several people. They specifically targeted their vitals. Their hearts, heads, charred holes appeared. One could even smell the stench of rotten flesh. Reckless fool! Dustless only snorted coldly. He didn't even look at the corpses of these people. They were courting death, so why should he show mercy? Being able to leave a complete corpse was considered a VIP treatment. I hope those 2 little girls will be fine. Dustless lowered his head and muttered to himself. The 2 little girls he was talking about were naturally Xiaoya and Sangong San. In the past, Dustless was still the only general of the King Ghost Army. Naturally, IK's Honrin was afraid of Dustless. However, things were different now. Dustless had most likely killed Tong Tianli and became the new general of the King Ghost Army. In a way, Dustless's killing of the Twilight Immortal could be said to have helped High-Nace Red Lotus. If the Twilight Immortal had been in the way, he would not have been able to gain control of the King Ghost Army so easily. On the ground that was full of ruins, Dustless walked forward alone. Before the destruction of the world, this place used to be a glorious metropolis, but now it's just rubble and broken tiles. All of this was thanks to IK's Honrin. It was because of her that the world was destroyed. This is bad. When he came to the place where the King Ghost Army was stationed, Dustless looked around. The King Ghost Army, which had been in groups before, had disappeared, leaving behind a large number of vampires and King Ghost Army corpses. It can be seen that there was a big battle here before. It was most likely the battle between the vampires led by Freed and IK's Honrin. It is estimated that there was no winner between the 2 sides, and even the vampires suffered a big defeat because there were more vampires' corpses on the ground. I hope they have good fortune. Dustless muttered, and his observation hockey spread out and found that within a radius of tens of kilometers, there was no one. There were only 2 possibilities for Xiaoya and Sangong San. Either they were captured by the King Ghost Army or they escaped. If they were captured by the King Ghost Army, they would be doomed, because IK's Honrin has always been ruthless. Since she dared to kill Tong Tianli, why not kill Xiaoya? She was simply using her relationship, not to mention that Xiaoya was a member of the Tong family. It seems that I have to let that little girl unify the vampires as soon as possible, and destroy that group of humans as soon as possible. Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. He will not sympathize with humans or vampires. Whoever goes against him is an enemy, that's all. Inside the resplendent palace, Kalulu sat on the throne with bright eyes. He had regained his cold and arrogant demeanor, keeping everyone at a distance. Yo yo yo. How long has it been? Queen has come out of Sato's shadow. It's not easy to come by. A sudden voice was full of ridicule. You've grown up, Kalulu. Who is it? How dare you? The vampire guards around were furious. How dare you despise their queen like this? You deserve to die. Get out of here, all of you. Unexpectedly, Kalulu was not angry. Instead, he said sternly, disappear from my sight in 3 seconds, or your brains will explode. Gulp. These cold-blooded words scared all the vampires out of their wits. They looked at each other and hurriedly fled in all directions. How can you treat your subordinate so cruelly? Aren't you afraid that they will be disappointed? After all, it's for your own safety. Countless divine lights flashed around Kalulu, like thousands of fireflies dancing. In the blink of an eye, Dustless's thin body appeared out of nowhere. What kind of ability is this? Kalulu sighed inwardly. He could only blame himself for being short-sighted and ignorant. Dustless appeared so mysteriously every time, and he did not notice it at all. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:12. This is the devil fruit, the elemental transformation of a Logia user. Noticing Kalulu's confusion and astonishment, Dustless slowly explained, elemental transformation is a very unique ability. It allows one to be immune to most physical attacks. Immune to physical attacks? Cruella took a deep breath. Although she did not know what a devil fruit was, the ability to be immune to physical attacks was already invincible. Human! The escaping vampire guards turned around and saw Dustless. They shouted angrily, stay away from the queen if you don't want to die or else. Get out of here, you bunch of trash! The impatient Kalulu angrily rebuked. This time, she seemed to be really angry. Her shout carried an invisible impact, and the group of vampires were all blasted away. A bunch of idiots. Why can't you see it? This guy dares to appear in my palace alone. His strength must be unfathomable. Why can't you see it? Cruella shook her head and sighed. Some people were cannon fodder. Not only were they weak, but they also had bad eyesight. How's the information gathering going? Dustless fiddled with Kalulu's beautiful hair in boredom and said expectantly, the other ancestors of the vampires have also rushed here, right? Yes. Cruella nodded and reported truthfully. Most of the noble vampires are here because Master Dustless killed the former second ancestor, Saito. Of course, they also want to capture me, the traitor queen. Cruella's voice was filled with confusion. Almost no one knew about the relationship between her and Dustless. Saito knew a little about it, but he was killed by Dustless. However, their secret was exposed in the end. That's good. It saves me a lot of trouble. Dustless stretched his body and said with an expectant smile, I heard that the other second patriarch, Ul Giles, and the third patriarch, Lester Ka, are also here. The other high-grade patriarchs are also here. Aya, I can't wait to see the upcoming massacre. Compared to the interested Dustless, Kalulu was much more serious. His small face was filled with caution. Lord Dustless, aren't you overestimating yourself by facing a dozen ancestral nobles at once? Crew frowned as he looked at Dustless. This was the first time he doubted Dustless' abilities. It was no wonder that Kalulu lacked confidence. Facing multiple primogenitors, including the second primogenitor, Ul Giles, and the third primogenitor, Lester Khan, was indeed troublesome for her. Hee. Are you scared? I have a perfect plan to ensure my survival. Dustless looked down at Kalulu with a faint smile. I'll hand you over to those monsters and tell them that you're the culprit. After that, I'll suck up to them. How about that? Lord Dustless is still joking at this time? Kalulu rolled his eyes. Dustless was also speechless. A large number of vampire nobles were about to arrive, and this guy still had the time to tease him. Did he really think that he was the number one in the world and was invincible? Kalulu, your horizons are too narrow. A stone suddenly appeared on his fingertip. Then, he exerted some force, and the stone instantly cracked. Dustless then explained, Those nobles are like this stone. They were lucky that no one could crush them before, but now that they've met me. Bang! The hard stone turned into powder in the blink of an eye. Dustless's body was filled with an astonishing ferocious aura. They've met me. They're destined to be crushed to death. Kralik, what happened to the two little girls? You didn't drink their blood, did you? We have to ensure their safety. After all, they are our trump card to negotiate with Dustless. Fried and Kralik, who had been missing for a long time, were drinking in a luxurious villa. They looked at the crimson rising sun in the distance. Are you talking about the little girls called Xiaoya and 3 palaces and 3 leaves? Kralik swirled the red liquid in his glass and drank it in one gulp. Dustless does value the two of them, but he won't accept our conditions for the sake of these 2 little girls. After the battle between the vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army, 3 palaces, 3 leaves, and Xiaoya didn't escape. Instead, they were secretly captured by Fried. Of course I know. Fried held his chin with his hand and said seriously, human nature is a strange thing. A man like Dustless does things very strangely. He might do something shocking. Just like the cooperation before, you didn't expect that guy to really help us kill Saito. Besides, some things aren't as simple as you think. Dustless watched Xiaoya grow up, and they have a good relationship. She's the only trump card we can use to restrain Dustless. Sigh. Kralik sighed helplessly. Are you sure? Friedkun. Against someone like Dustless, we won't be able to kill him even if we have 100 lives. But we don't have a choice. That guy abandoned us and chose to let Krulu unify all the vampires. I can't accept that. Fried revealed a rare ferocious expression. Are you willing to obey Krulu's orders? That queen is very prejudiced against us. Kralik, you might not know, right? Now, Dustless and Krulu Tsupizi are fat meat. Dustless killed Saito, and Krulu, the 3rd primogenitor, betrayed the vampires. This matter has caused a stir in the world. Fried then revealed a treacherous smile and couldn't help but proudly say, let me tell you. I'm the one who secretly sent someone to inform the upper primogenitors that Dustless secretly killed Saito, and that Krulu had joined Dustless and betrayed the vampires. Then I'll go crazy with you this time. If there really is a god in this world, I hope it will bless us and help us defeat the evil Satan. Kralik finally decided to go all the way with Fried. There were some things that he had no choice in. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:13. Time always passed by unknowingly. By the time they realized it, 3 days had already passed. Boom boom boom. On a certain morning, a loud sound suddenly came from Klulu's vampire city. Following that, the ground cracked open as if it had been hit by a meteor. A huge scorched pit dozens of meters deep appeared on the ground. Klulu, and that human called Dustless, get the hell out here. An arrogant and unbridled voice filled the decaying city, waking up Dustless and Klulu from their sleep. Asking me to get the hell out here so early in the morning. Who has such a bad temper? Dustless crawled out from his bed and lazily stretched his waist. Beside him, there was a haggard-looking girl wearing pink pajamas. This young and tender child was actually Klulu. Glancing back, Dustless saw that Klulu was also slowly opening her eyes. He couldn't help but look at her with disdain. You are still the 3rd ancestor of the vampires. Do you have to be so afraid of death? Because Dustless had too many enemies, it caused Klulu to be filled with worry and couldn't sleep well. Hence, no matter what, he had to sleep with Dustless to feel safe. It was understandable that she would think this way. Klulu was the 3rd ancestor, and there were still people who could kill her instantly. For example, Giles, who was also the 2nd ancestor like Sai-Tu. She might be assassinated at any time. That's because you provoked the strongest people in the world. I don't want to die with you, Klulu said matter-of-factly. At the same time, she was very familiar with that arrogant voice. It's that guy Lester Ka. The 3rd ancestor? Dustless understood this kid. He was a child like Klulu. Go and deal with him. I heard that the grudge between the two of you isn't small. That's what I was planning to do. A cold light flashed in Krulu's beautiful eyes. She and Lester Ka were not on good terms. The two of them had fought many times, both openly and covertly. Their grudges were not shallow. After Dustless's training, Krulu's strength had improved greatly. It was more than enough to deal with Lester Ka. Swish, swish, swish. After putting on his clothes, Krulu galloped away and disappeared in a few seconds. It's hard to even get a good night's sleep. The flies come in waves. Dustless lay on the soft mattress and stared at the ceiling. That guy is your bait, isn't it? A barb to lure Krulu. You actually found out. After a while, a thin man walked out of the darkness. This person had sharp elf-like ears and handsome facial features. His face was always expressionless, giving people the first impression of indifference. You must be the second primogenitor, Old Giles? Knowing that the other party was the second primogenitor, Dustless could not help but take a second look at him. Am I blind? I really don't see anything special about you. You're not even as good as that Saito. Too arrogant, full of flaws. In this short moment, a ferocious-looking vampire appeared above Dustless's head. He bared his sharp fangs and was about to bite through Dustless's head. The strongest human, your blood must be delicious. Dustless had been given many nicknames since a long time ago. The strongest human was just one of them. Kansusanu. A golden light flashed on the surface of Wu Chen's body. It quickly shrank and took shape. It covered his whole body and condensed into a fist. He waved his hand and punched fiercely. Bang! The vampire that wanted to ambush Dustless was instantly shattered by the punch. His body exploded, leaving not even a complete skeleton behind. He turned into a bloody mist on the ground. So strong. The second primogenitor, Old Giles, frowned. The vampire that ambushed Dustless was an ordinary noble, but he was still a famous figure. Dustless killed a primogenitor with a wave of his hand. Wasn't he a little too strong? Sword, drink my blood. A large number of spikes protruded from Old Giles' sword and pierced through his palm. The originally pale blade seemed to have devoured his blood and turned crimson. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As expected of the second primogenitor, Old Giles sent out a destructive sword light with each swing of his blade. Dustless didn't even look at the incoming attack. He controlled Kansusanu with his mind and formed a fist again. He punched the incoming beam of sword light. Old Giles snorted and said somewhat angrily, "How can my attack be compared to that trash? It's not something you can." Bang! Before Old Giles could finish his words, his attack was shattered by Kansusanu's punch. The beam of sword light raged and turned into small fragments that spread wildly. Countless holes were created in the walls of the palace. There's no reason for the gap to be so big. There must be something wrong. Old Giles was shocked. His cheeks were twitching, and his mouth was so wide open that a fist could fit in it. You used this move to defeat him? Old Giles had an ugly expression on his face. He finally understood why Saito had lost. Saito's strength was completely overwhelming. It's a little more complicated to deal with him. It's easier to deal with you, Dustless said honestly. His words angered Old Giles. Wasn't Dustless mocking him for being inferior to Saito? Open your eyes wide and watch. Old Giles seemed to be truly enraged. He raised his saber again and slashed down with a slash that was even more ferocious than the previous one. That's the only move I've come up with. How boring. Dustless was dispirited when he saw this. He blinked his Sharingan again and Kansusanu's form changed again. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:14. Kansusanu was extremely powerful. Every form of Kansusanu was extraordinarily powerful. From the simplest form of Kansusanu to the final form of Kansusanu, every form was powerful enough to annihilate Old Giles. This thing can even grow bigger? Old Giles was completely dumbfounded as he stared at the enlarged Kansusanu. He stared blankly at the giant monster in front of him. All the strength in his body was drained away, and a deep sense of powerlessness spread throughout his body. Dustless's body was shrouded in a golden materialized light. This mysterious energy was controlled by some kind of will, and it eventually turned into a mighty giant. It looked like an invincible god of war. It had a Tengu helmet on its head and a thick armor on its body. Its huge eyes looked down at Old Giles, and Old Giles could not help but take a few steps back. "What is this?" Dustless did not mind at all. He said calmly, "The Kansusanu you see now is just the pure mature form. If you see the complete form, then maybe you will have a different expression." Compared to the complete form of Kansusanu, the mature Kansusanu before Old Giles was insignificant. "Damn freak!" Old Giles' face twitched violently upon hearing that. Judging from what Dustless said, the mature Kansusanu in front of him did not seem to be the limit. Boom, boom, boom. All of Old Giles' slashes landed on the mature Kansusanu's shell, but it was useless. It was like rain falling on a rock. There were a lot of them, but they were all useless. The dazzling sword light could not break through the Kansusanu's defense. In the end, it scattered and disappeared without a trace. "You are very lucky to be able to die under Kansusanu," Dustless said slowly. "Even your primogenitor did not receive such a great treatment." Old Giles' head almost exploded when he heard that. He asked in shock, "Why were you killed our first primogenitor? Why are you so surprised? It's not like it was that difficult." Dustless's expression did not change. He was as calm as still water, and there was no trace of Old Giles' exaggerated expression. He had killed countless powerful beings, and the first primogenitor was just one of them. "Then you can die now." The scarlet Sharingan blinked, and a visible ripple appeared in its eye socket. Under Dustless's control, Kansusanu immediately picked up the Tachi in his hand. "You want to kill me?" "Nah." Old Giles wasn't an idiot. He immediately berated the other vampire nobles. "You guys stay here and stall him. I'll go look for reinforcements." "Bullshit. Do you think we are idiots? Reinforcements are bullshasterisk T. You can you?" In the face Giles's cans. In the face cans was. Was cans. To cans. T. Ins. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Old Giles did not care about what others thought. He ran with all his might, turning into a blur and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Both the first primogenitor and the second primogenitor, Saito, were dead. It was not a bad thing. Old Giles suddenly realized that his opportunity had come. Why did he have to fight Dustless to the death? It was completely unnecessary. Even an ant would drag out its life. This sentence was applicable to all living creatures. "Let's run." The other vampire nobles were not fools either. Since Old Giles had run away, they would definitely die if they stayed here. They looked at each other and ran away at the same time. "You want to run? Do you think I'm air?" Dustless sneered. His body suddenly surged with a large amount of light and turned into a beam of light that shot into the sky. When he was about 50 meters above the ground, the vast land was in his eyes. Dustless controlled Kansusanu to cross his hands, and a destructive flash appeared. "Kansusanu, Yasakani no Magatama." In an instant, it was as if a golden meteor shower was falling from the sky. Tens of thousands of destructive lights swooped down, wave after wave. Whether in terms of power or size, they were much stronger than the Yasakani no Magatama. Moreover, the area they covered was much wider. Within a radius of a few kilometers, everything was shrouded in the destructive light. The ground was mercilessly penetrated, and there were potholes everywhere. The surrounding area was like the surface of the moon, which had been inhumanely attacked and was scorched black. "Ah! Who on earth created such an evil trick? Is it the devil?" A large number of vampires screamed in pain. Due to the combination of Kansusanu and the Yasakani no Magatama, its power had been enhanced by the dimensional nature. Once hit, a head-sized hole would appear on their body. It was a horrible sight. The vampires that Old Giles had brought with him were almost completely wiped out. They were all killed in one clean move. Fortunately, I ran fast enough. Old Giles was hiding under a pile of ruins. When he saw the scene outside, his body trembled. If he had been one step slower, he would have been smashed into pieces. "Damn that Freed! How dare he trick me? He didn't tell me that Dustless's strength was so terrifying." Old Giles cursed loudly. He wished he could cut Freed into pieces. It was because this guy told him that Dustless had killed Saito and overturned the rule of the vampires in Japan that Old Giles came looking for trouble. "Oh, So it's that brat Fried. I knew he wasn't that obedient. Sure enough, the tiger that hides in the dark is the most dangerous. You never know when it will take a bite. A cold voice came out of nowhere. Old Giles was shocked. He looked up. Who else could it be other than Dustless, the Jinx? P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:15. When did you appear? I didn't even realize it. Have I become so slow? Giles clenched his fists, his face turning pale. He knew that he was now a complete stranger. Answer me a few questions before you die. Dustless didn't care if Giles agreed or not. He asked directly, Fried told you about my secret contact with Kruru, didn't he? Humph, that bastard. It would have been better if Fried had not been mentioned. However, the moment Fried was mentioned, Giles flew into a rage. That bastard dared to scheme against me. He sent someone to inform me that your strength is on par with mine. That's because you're too naive. How could you believe the words of a fox like him? Dustless shook his head. You must think that Fried wouldn't dare to lie to you because you're the second primogenitor. Am I right? Giles didn't say a word. He did think so back then, but he ended up suffering a great loss. Do it. Giles didn't want to waste his breath. He had nothing to say now. He had lost and he had lost everything. Do you have any last words? Dustless showed a rare kindness to Giles when he saw the desolate look on Giles' face. He could understand the feeling of being deceived by a nobody. Giles probably wanted nothing more than to tear Fried into pieces. Last words. Giles opened his eyes abruptly, shooting out a cold glint. You want me to let you go? Impossible. You must die, Dustless said bluntly. Come to think of it, I've lived for thousands of years. What haven't I seen? To be honest, sometimes I feel like I'm tired of living. Giles' voice was hoarse and weathered. The light in his eyes became empty. He suddenly felt like he had seen through the world of mortals. I only have one wish. I can't stand being deceived by a piece of trash. If you can, I hope you can torture Fried. That damned bastard. Giles roared with hatred. The second primogenitor was tricked to death by the seventh primogenitor. It was a great humiliation to him. He would be laughed at even if he died. As you wish. Dustless nodded in agreement. Shortly after, a light flashed in his hand as he used the Ajuro pill to crush old Giles. He left this world with no regrets. You want me to torture that brat? Actually, even if you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have let that kid off so easily. However, I don't seem to be very good at torturing people. Other than Tsukuyami, there doesn't seem to be anything else. It's better to leave it to someone else. Dustless's lips curled into a faint smile. Abuse? It just so happened that there was a master in this field who could be of service. On the other side, Klulu and the third ancestor Rester Ka were engaged in a fierce battle. Because Dustless had trained him, Klulu's strength surpassed Rester Ka's, but it was still difficult for him to kill him. After all, Lester Ka was the third primogenitor, and his strength wasn't bad. Mother ****, what the hell? For the first time in his life, Lester Ka cursed. Looking at him, his clothes were tattered like a beggar, and his face, which could be considered cute, was covered with dust and dirt. Why is the difference in strength so big? Am I a fake third primogenitor? Lester Ka grumbled to himself. He originally wanted to have a big battle with Klulu. The two of them had a lot of conflicts, and it was only a matter of time before they had to settle their grudges. Today was the best time. However, the result was a tragedy. Klulu seemed to have taken some kind of drug and beat Lester Ka up. There were a few times when Lester Ka would have been killed by Klulu if he didn't react quickly enough. Klulu, you still haven't finished here? A lazy voice came from afar. Klulu's beautiful eyes flashed, and after seeing who it was he respectfully said, This guy isn't bad, but give me 10 more minutes. I'm sure I can kill him. Kill me in 10 minutes? Lester Ka's small face was red with anger. He said angrily, You think I'm a trash like Fried? You think you can kill me in a few minutes? Dream on. 10 minutes is indeed too long. I don't have that much time, so I'll kill you in a second. A ghostly voice suddenly came from behind. Lester Ka's body turned cold. The moment he turned his head, a cold light fell from above. Poochie! Lester Ka didn't even have time to react before his body was split in half by Dustless. This guy is my prey. After being stunned for a few seconds, Klulu said with dissatisfaction. There was no exception. Dustless could even crush the second primogenitor, let alone the third primogenitor. We still have other things to do. Let's go take care of Ice Ace Honrin and the others. Without waiting for Klulu's reaction, Dustless left first. What about Freed and Cory? Klulu asked with a frown. Hearing this, Dustless smiled mysteriously. Don't worry about them. A cruel queen will take care of them for me. Let's pray for Freed and Cory. Strange, why is my eyelid twitching recently? In a luxurious villa, Freed, who was drinking, suddenly muttered to himself. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. Is this the place? That guy Wu Chen called me to this world just to do this kind of thing? That despicable guy. I thought he was the one who brought me out for a date. On a pile of rubble, a seductive figure stood. Her figure was extremely hot, her lips were red, and her teeth were white. Her fair oval face was flawless. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:16. However, the guy Dustless still knows my hobby, which means that the kid still remembers me. The beautiful woman licked her lips, showing a horrible bloodthirsty smile, which instantly made her lose her beauty, as if she was incarnated into a female Shura who had killed countless people, which made people unable to help but feel creepy. It was worth mentioning that this coquettish woman with long blue hair had killed countless people. She was the sadist general who had a hobby of torturing others. Death. Dustless wanted to torture Freed, not only for old Giles, but also for himself, but his ability to torture people was so he thought of Death in the past. Death had been staying in the system space and was quite bored. This time she was released by Dustless. She calmly looked at the world that she had never seen before, and her beautiful big eyes were full of curiosity. Forget it, let's finish the task given by Dustless first, and then go on a date with him. It's better to have some beautiful things happen in the middle, such as giving birth to children and so on. Death's eyes were restored to coldness, looking at the villa in the distance, and suddenly snapped her fingers. Dare to provoke my man, you have a lot of courage. Snap. With a snap of his fingers, a terrifying ice ball suddenly condensed in the void and smashed down like a meteorite. Even the sky was covered by it. The surrounding vampires who saw it fled in panic. Because of the teaching of Dustless, Death's strength became extremely powerful, and she also ate the ice-cold fruit that belonged to Akiji in one piece. In addition, she was a fighting genius, so it was conceivable how strong she was. Who did this? The scene suddenly became chaotic, and Freed naturally noticed it. He hurriedly ran out of the villa, looking up at the huge ice ball that slowly fell from the sky, and his heart was full of despair. Gulp. Without exception, Crowley was also amazed. The huge meteorite ice was like the punishment of God, and its huge volume covered a radius of hundreds of meters. What are you doing? What are you looking at? Run for your life. Realizing that Cory was staring at him in a daze, Freed kicked him in annoyance. Soon after, the two of them hurriedly fled for their lives, their speed as fast as lightning. At the same time, Death, who was watching silently, also found Crowley and Freed. The speed of their escape was much faster than that of other vampires, which also indirectly showed that the strength of these two was better. They were probably the leaders of this group of vampires. Still want to run? Death smiled and chased after him like a gust of wind. Huff huff huff. After running for several kilometers, Freed and Crowley lay on the ground, gasping for air. The two of them were so tired that their backs were drenched in sweat and their legs were sore from running. That was definitely not a natural phenomenon, it was definitely man-made, Crowley said with extreme certainty. Of course I know. Freed nodded in agreement. With an ugly expression he said, It must be him. He actually destroyed our base. Hearing this, Crowley's heart sank. He naturally knew who he was talking about. Dustless. Recalling that his lair had been destroyed, Freed became furious and said angrily, Dustless, that damned bastard. In the future I will definitely. Puff. Before Freed's voice fell, a black shadow fell from the sky and stepped on his head with a big foot. The heel of the high-heeled shoe was also stuffed into his mouth, piercing his throat directly, and blood spurted out. It's just a bat, a beast. Do you think you can call me Dustless? Trash. There was no doubt that this godlike figure that fell from the sky was Esteth. She suppressed Freed with overwhelming strength in an instant, and there was no room for him to fight back. Who are you? Crowley on the side was also shocked. He pulled out his sword and stared at Esteth. It was too strange. He didn't even have time to react. Freed was killed in seconds. When he realized it, Esteth's heel had stepped on Freed's throat, and he screamed in pain. You are not qualified to ask who I am, and you are not qualified. Esteth smiled disdainfully. Her white face flashed a cold light. Her body was like lightning again and evaporated from Crowley's eyes. Where is she? Crowley was dumbfounded. What kind of freak was this? How could a human's speed be so fast? Even the second ancestor, Sai-Tu, couldn't do it. Idiot, behind you! Freed, whose mouth was full of blood, reminded loudly, but it was too late. Esteth's speed was too fast. Poochie! The ice sword pierced Crowley's chest and penetrated him from the front to the back. The blood flowed down from the wound. Sure enough, as Dustless said, you are still alive after being injured like this. Are you a vampire? Interesting creature. Esteth's beautiful eyes blinked. She saw Freed standing up tremblingly. It could be seen that he was fine, and so was Crowley. Corey and Freed exchanged glances. Both of them could see the anger in each other's eyes. Out of nowhere, a mysterious character had suddenly appeared, grabbed the two of them, and violently beat them up. Was there a mistake? I know what you want to say. Don't say it. I am not interested in listening. Esteth's eyes were filled with a raging red luster. She smiled bloodthirstily. You didn't offend me, just because you offended Dustless. So, you too must die and slowly be trampled by me. It turned out to be Dustless's little brother. Crowley was relieved. No wonder Esteth wanted to kill him and Freed. He immediately said depressingly, however, why are the people around him such monsters? They are countless times more terrifying than those high-level ancestors. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:17. God is really unfair. All the benefits belong to that guy. Freed also nodded and couldn't help but look at Esteth. This mysterious woman was as beautiful as a goddess, exuding a noble temperament, and there was an indescribable sense of inferiority in front of her. Yeah, and this woman has a close relationship with Dustless, and her strength is unreliable. Fried Kuan, maybe this is the end for us. Crowley said in a heavy tone, and he was shocked by Esteth's overwhelming strength. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Esteth smiled charmingly, like a spring breeze, making people feel comfortable. At this moment, she was very amiable. However, the following words caused Freed and Crowley's faces to darken. I like all kinds of torture. It's not easy to be released by that guy. Immortal bodies like you vampires must be the most suitable material. Esteth smiled again, without the previous gentleness. This time it was the sneer of the Grim Reaper. Your Excellency, we don't have any grudges. Why do we have to fight to the end? It's not good for anyone. Freed was indeed an old fox with an off-the-charts IQ. He knew that the chances of him and Crowley winning were slim, so he immediately changed his method. His tone was filled with bewitchment as he advised in a low voice. Dustless is a vicious and merciless person. Why don't we join hands to destroy him and divide the world? However, Esteth didn't speak, just looked at the two with a blank expression. Is it not enough? Crowley's eyebrows flashed, and he added, how about this, after we join forces to destroy Dustless, the world will be divided 70-30? You two idiots. Esteth, who couldn't listen to it, opened her thin lips slightly and exhaled. Compared with Dustless, even if you give the world to me, it's still worthless, and you don't seem to understand the relationship between me and Dustless. That guy is my man. Do you understand? Istetha's words made Freed and Crowley's mood fall to the bottom. Before, they even thought of joining forces with Isteth to kill Dustless, but now it was ridiculous to think about it. It's time to teach you guys a lesson. Istetha's eyes turned cold. With a wave of her slender hand, a large number of ice thorns appeared out of thin air and shot at Freed and Crowley, who were in a daze. Idiot, why are you still in a daze at this time? Hurry up and dodge. As if he sensed death, Freed shuddered and reminded Crowley beside him. Swish! Swish! The two of them hurriedly retreated, dodging the icicle's attacks. Although they managed to react in time, there were simply too many icicles. Unavoidably, Freed and Crowley were hit by the icicles, their bodies riddled with holes. How are you, Crowley? Freed asked in a low voice. Just now, Crowley's reaction had been too slow, resulting in his body being struck. A large number of ice spikes had pierced into his body, resulting in hundreds of wounds. Don't worry. Dustless told me that the only way to kill a vampire is to use the ghost curse equipment. Unfortunately, I don't have it, so I'm destined not to be able to kill you too. Istetha's pretty face was calm, and finally she suddenly laughed again. However, that guy also said that it would be more interesting to take away your vampire's heart and let you lose too much blood? Gulp. Hearing Istetha's words, both Freed and Crowley felt a chill down their spines. This woman was simply a pervert. Vampires would mutate if they lost too much blood. It was better to kill them directly than to degenerate into ghosts. Let the show begin. Isteth didn't care what the two of them thought. Now she just wanted to enjoy herself. The enemy's howling was the most beautiful music for her. In Osaka City, the rest of the Emperor Ghost Army gathered here. The current marshal of the Emperor Ghost Army was Ikane Sakemi. This kid's promotion speed was definitely the fastest. Previously, he was still a lieutenant colonel. Now, he had become a marshal. How many levels did he jump at once? Akemi, hurry up and fight with Dustless, that bastard. In the war conference room, Hayakuya Yuichiro couldn't wait to say, that guy killed Michael, I will make him regret living in this world. You idiot! Unexpectedly, Ikane Sakemi just scolded and sprayed her saliva on Hayakuya Yuichiro's face. Who is Dustless? The strongest man in the world, Wu-Yi. How can we fight with him? Unless that kid comes to us personally, I will never take the initiative to attack. Ikane Sakemi stubbornly said. Hearing that Dustless killed the first ancestor, her fear of Dustless became deeper and deeper. So as long as he didn't come to them, Ikane Sakemi decided to continue to be a coward. After all, even the blazing angel of termination was no match for Dustless in the end and was crushed. Truth be told, even in Akase Honrin's dreams, she wanted to kill Dustless. However, that was just a dream. In reality, she could only obediently become a stray dog. Don't tell me I don't want to avenge Michael? Hayakuya Yuichiro looked resentful. His right hand held the ghost curse Tochi tightly, and his body was erupting uncontrollably. There will be opportunities. I'm sorry, but not now. We need to accumulate strength. When we have enough strength in the future, we will destroy the great demon king. Ikane Sakemi patted Hayakuya Yuichiro's shoulder, a sincere look of consolation on her face. However, in her heart she disagreed. Brat, if it weren't for the fact that you are valuable to me as an important experimental subject, I wouldn't have taken special care of you. If you want to die, you should die early. If you die, you idiot, just treat it as purifying the air. Ikane Sakemi had a sincere smile on her face. Her heart was calculating. Hayakuya Yuichiro was an important experimental subject that must not be lost. In the future, when she mass-produced the Seraph of Termination, there would be no need to worry about not being able to destroy Dustless. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.